Hi everybody, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today I've got Dan, and Dan and I are going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about sales and marketing. We may even get some future work stuff in, if we can do in the 20 minutes. Dan, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for me, Dan Sodergren, and that's Sodergren. You can most probably just type in Dan Sodergren. In fact, it used to be years ago. You could type in Dan Marketing Man in Google and you'd find me. But that's a long time ago. So yeah, come and find me on LinkedIn or my website, which is dansodergren.com.
Excellent. So, Dan, the world doesn't change, is it, with AI?
Yeah, hardly anything changes any day. Every day, literally, I do AI trainings for companies and corporates, and I have to change my workshops pretty much every couple of days at the moment. That's how quickly the world changes with AI. I created a course called the AI Marketing Course. You can go to that www.aimarketingcourse.co.uk. It's still relevant now. There are 111 different tools I trialed out before I wrote my book on AI and marketing. But now, even though that course helps a lot, the updates I have to do every 2 weeks. I do another update because the world of AI changes again. And now you can look at some of those tools that you can use for sales and marketing, and actually a lot of those things can be done with a really good prompt, which is why I created a course around prompt engineering as well, which you can go and find, because this whole ability of AI, which is increasing daily, now means that, unfortunately, for some of those companies, I'm on my own. I had a HR tech company called Your Flock, and we didn't get our third round of funding because AI became so good, and our machine learning that we'd created was no way as good as GPT-4s. This is where you are with a lot of sales and marketing tools. A lot of the big players can now do that with a decent prompt, which must be slightly terrifying if you're one of those small startups, because you thought you had a moat and some proprietary data. Unfortunately, that is not the way AI works. It doesn't care that you have proprietary data. It simply gets better and better and learns more and more. But there you go.
So give us a view of where we are with AI and sales and marketing. I think if people are watching this, they probably already know the fact that they need to know something about AI, because we all need to know something about what the opportunity is. Mm-hmm. Give us a view of where you think we are right now in terms of, because you've said things like you said something to me like in the prep call, which is, if you're in marketing, get out.
Yeah, well, I've been very lucky because I've known through there's a chap called Demis Havlis. And sorry, Demis, I always get your second name wrong. Considering I've known you for 20 years, I do still apologise. But Demis created something called DeepMind, which he sold to Google for 458 million. This is a very quick précis of Demis's amazing career, which is working in computer gaming and doing all sorts. Anyway, I've been talking to Demis for like 20 years around AI, machine learning, this kind of future of work stuff, just because I'm very lucky to have known him. One of my best friends from back home is also an investor in Your Flock, just happens to be his best man. So I just know him, just by complete luck, right? But he's one of the biggest players now in AI, right? So 8 years ago, when we were 40, we had a big old long conversation about what was going to happen with marketing, and he basically said, "You've got about 10 years because AI, it will replace that industry." And he said it in a, they were so lovely because they say it in such a random, just a blasé kind of just like, "Well, of course you'll have to get out of marketing. It won't exist in 10 years." And I was like, "That's what I do as a job." And it's like, well, that job most probably won't exist, because AI can do that. It's quite an easy thing. It's quite low-hanging fruit. Now, they always say that they try to get in a room where you're the stupidest person in the room. Believe you me, I was in that room. It's not that much fun. It's humbling.
But you've embraced AI, haven't you? Because you've done you've created courses on it. You've gone out on how many AI tools you reviewed. So yeah, you have really embraced it, haven't you?
Absolutely. But I started embracing AI as a concept, a decade ago. And let's be fair, it's machine learning and some other clever stuff. I've been very lucky. I did a couple of tech companies that were doing AI stuff before AI stuff was called AI. Let's not be silly about it. But as I was saying on the radio the other day, you could argue that AI isn't anything new, because it isn't. And you could argue it's just amazing computer power, because it is. And so actually, if you're working in the world of digital transformation, which I have been for a decade, you've been working in AI. You just haven't realized it. AI is this new ability But that new ability was unlocked because of the different UX that they put around it. It's the chatbot thing. But to answer your question, yeah, sales and marketing especially fundamentally is about the ability of human beings to connect with other human beings and do things from a psychological point of view, right? You could argue so sales. Now we have AI systems, artificial intelligence systems that can mimic and can replicate that same environment, but with an ability which is most probably 1,000 times quicker than you are. Now, does this mean they are better than you? Well, they're quicker. So now you could use, for example, you could use VoicePen. We could take this podcast, I could put it into VoicePen. VoicePen would take all the audio from it, and you could click a button, and in 8 minutes you'd have a blog. Right? I could then put that blog, put it into GPT-4, and then say, create me 20 tweets. And with the right prompt, it would do so in seconds. Now, does that replace marketing? Well, it replaces some marketing because content creation becomes 10 times easier. So as a marketeer, I know I'm 400% more productive if I use AI, which is an insane number. Now in sales, they're predicting it's about 40%, but 40%'s a big deal, right? If you could make 40% more money, you'd most probably say yes, please. Yeah. Now, if it only costs you a bit of knowledge and maybe £20 a month and maybe a few other tools, honestly less than £50 a month, and you can become 40% more productive. This is what I call the fifth industrial revolution. This is where we are. Now, whether we embrace that is really up to us as individuals. It doesn't make any difference. And if you were sitting there in the fields and you saw the tractor on the horizon and you were in the field doing manual labor and you said, oh, well, don't worry about tractors, that'll never take off. Then 95% of us used to work in the fields. We don't anymore. A lot of us work in sales and marketing, and we're not going to anymore. And I got kind of booed off stage about 5 years ago when I said that at a marketing conference. And I get that it's not emotionally intelligent to say that because I'm not always emotionally intelligent, but it's the truth. We are going, AI is not going to replace you. The old cliche, of course, is AI won't replace you. Somebody using AI will. I don't think that's ever been truer now in marketing and sales. And if you're not using AI, and you're not using tools that use AI, I'd be very surprised if you're going to be successful. And I'm talking about this year, not in 5 years' time. This is the same as saying to somebody, well, I don't use computers because I do marketing, but I don't use computers anymore. You can't do marketing without computers, right? In the next year, you won't be able to do marketing without AI. It's just the way it is. And it's a bit, for me, it's a bit sad because I kind of moved away from it because everything became data driven. And I thought it therefore lacked emotional intelligence. The thing is now with AI, you can have AI which has emotional intelligence. So all the things that we thought AI couldn't do, it now can do. So it's a breathtaking world. Is it scary? I think it's scary for some. Is it something we can stop? I very much doubt it.
I don't think we can stop it. You now got to embrace it. But I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that the way that ChatGPT has escalated in terms of its usage, we all now need to know what it's about and be able to talk about it. It's not like I've been on it was my 15th anniversary for being on Twitter just the other week.
Yeah, I heard that.
And there are still people that are saying social media will never catch up.
Yeah. It took 13. You've got to remember, it took more than 13 years for teachers to say that calculators are allowed inside the classroom.
Yes.
It literally is a 14-year thing. The thing with this next thing, though, which is why it's so exciting, is the timescales for this isn't a decade. It's more like 10 months, right? So the actual thing, it's a bit like ChatGPT, 100 million users in 72 days, right? The telephone took 72 years to get to the same number of people. Okay, ChatGPT, and by the way, ChatGPT is not the only AI you can use. Of course, it's not. And then this is the big thing. It's horses for courses. I think something like 80% of people use ChatGPT. I'm here to tell you, please don't just use ChatGPT. And if you could, please do not use the free version for so many reasons that we haven't got time to go into today. But just do not use the free version. We're talking about for the price of, a medium, midway kind of gym. Maybe not pure gym, but another gym, let's say, or a series of sandwiches during the week. For £20, you get access to an amazing AI system. Now, you can do the same, but with Gemini. which is Google's version. You can do the same with Claude, and Claude is so much better than OpenAI. And if those 3 words don't make any sense to you, please look into them, because it's horses for courses. We keep saying AI like it's this one thing. It's not. It's like 20,000 companies, right? But 4 or 5 of the main ones, that's what you've got to start learning, because there are certain things that AI is, well, there's certain things that Claude is amazing at, like writing copy. And then there's certain things like GPT is really good at, like strategic thinking, and there's things like working into your CRMs. And again, because I've only got 20 minutes, so I can't get too geeky, but I would, if you're a sales professional, I would be starting to look at how can you leverage, in the amount of data that you've got, can this be used with something like GPT-4 and, the code interpreter? And can you use things like code interpreter on your personalized CRM and kind of almost take it away from your bosses or from other people? Make that decision yourself. I'm not being go to the extent that I think some people should do, and they should actually get their own LLM inside their computers, which you can do.
I was going to say, is that what you're saying? You should get, because I think there's a move, isn't there, where there's public LLMs in terms of ChatGPT, but actually what you're doing is you're going to take a private one, because Larry Ellison from Oracle said something, was it last week or the week before, saying this is the way that the enterprise was going to go, and you should be getting your own data and getting an element and training it on your own data.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's almost a slightly bigger thing, but I totally get what he's saying. That from an enterprise point of view, absolutely. Can you remember back in the day when people said, should we have our own servers? Yeah. Should we have our own kit? Should we have our own laptops? There was all these things, wasn't there, that you started. Now it's AI. So it's going to be, do I bring my AI to work? Well, actually, my argument would be you should have your AI yourself, because you're individual. I wrote a book called The Fifth Industrial Revolution. In that, I talk about emotional intelligence, artificial intelligence, organizational intelligence, but also independent intelligence. And as independent people, we need to start thinking, what can I do for myself? And one of the things you can do for yourself is to have, if you have the brain cells to do it, and I don't, but if you have the people who code, so luckily I do, they can put an LLM onto your machine or into your server or around your data. You can get really geeky about it. So you can look at things like Mistral and Coherent. There's lots of different ones, and Facebook's about to bring out one. Llama 3 is about to come out and maybe blow the socks off everybody. But it's the key thing with all this stuff is because it changes all the time. You can sometimes get like analysis paralysis because they're always changing. Who's winning, who's losing? It's horses for courses. I think just from that, just don't worry about any of it. Just go, okay, what do I need to do? What's my why? What's my outcome? And then learn which AI is best for you right now, and then just start the journey. And that's why I think sometimes using a open source one, which you can keep yourself on your machine, is most probably a good strategy, rather than leaving it up to someone else. The other weird thing is if OpenAI and other folk decide just to slow down their model, which they do occasionally, that affects the brains in your organization. It's actually quite crazy that we have no laws against this, but you can buy something and they can simply slow it down. This is the same as buying a computer, and then they just go, oh, you don't have as much memory, as much RAM, and they just just turn out because it's on the cloud, right? Anyway, without getting too kind of granular about it, the point is grab hold of the opportunity of AI. I mean, come on courses like the AI marketing course. Other courses, of course, are available, but go on courses. Learn stuff. I've got a prompt engineer. I'll link to the prompt engineer course I'm launching at the end of this month. Prompt engineering is a fundamental ability to be able to talk to these AIs in a way that gets the best results, right? And it might be in a year's time, prompt engineering, we don't need to do it anymore. But right now, you should be, because people are using ChatGPT and other things, and they're just typing in, write me a blog, and then it's not very good. And then they go, oh, well, AI's rubbish. And it's like, it isn't. So this is why I always use the analogy that AI is like an intern. It's how you manage that. It's literally that clever. It's like having another human being, right? So it's how you manage that relationship that you have and how you augment your abilities with the AI. And you do so by learning prompt engineering, whether you're in sales or marketing. If you're purely in sales, by the way, there's a thing called Hume that's just come out, or came out a couple of weeks ago. This is the ability for the AI to recognize in someone's voice their emotional state.
This is so if you go to Hume, HUME.ai, This is what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very same. Yeah. And so you can talk into this thing and it'll talk back to you. And I say thing, no offense to human, it is a thing. Unless it's become sentient, which I hope it hasn't.
It may come searching for you, Dan.
Well, this is why, by the way, this is why I always say please and thank you to every one of the AIs I ever use, but that to the side. But it's also helps from a prompt engineering point of view. People don't always realize that, but it's actually true. That actually works. Anyway, so with Hume, it can have emotional intelligence as well as artificial intelligence. Now, if you think about every sales call you're on, and then you can start to, obviously as a salesperson, you might have years of experience of understanding what that person is saying and how their emotional state is. Yeah. But what about if you could listen back and listen to your own emotional state? And then the machine could go, this is where I think you might have lost that sale. That's where we are right now. We're in a place where the AI can be your sales coach, right? It's not just be your marketing coach, be your marketing strategist, be your marketing content creator. This is what you learn at the AI marketing course. You can now do it in sales. Now, it was meant to be that 5 years ago, that's a madman's dream, right? But we've also got to remember, this AI wasn't meant to be able to see images 7 years ago. And now more images have been created with AI than the first 150 years of photography itself around the globe. Like, it's billions of images.
I'm always scrolling through LinkedIn and go, it's another AI image.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, I've got to be careful with words, but sometimes the obvious ones are because they're badly prompted. So again, this is prompt engineering. It's like, if you go into GPT 3.5 and say, write me a tweet, it will do. Doesn't mean it's any good. But if you were clever enough to use something like Typing Mind, and in Typing Mind, this is what we teach in the course, Typing Mind is a wraparound for all these AI LLMs. If that makes no sense to you, please do come on the course. You don't have to come on the course though, just go and look for Typing Mind. It's an amazing bit of kit, right? You can create these characters and personas using Typing Mind, which means that the ability of the prompt is super powered because it pretends to be a certain character first. Now, for some people, that whole sentence makes no sense. They're like, what are you talking about? That's where we are though with AI right now. We're in the place where you can create characters that have personas, which then can do something which you can't do at a speed you can't do it. And this is the thing that I find the most fascinating about AI, is that AI throughout the board, no matter what system you're using, it makes people that aren't very good at something, good at something.
Yeah.
Right? If you are already a great salesman or a great saleswoman or a great marketing person, and you're in the top 1% of your industry, AI will not help you because AI cannot get to that 1%. But if you're in the 99%, and I am, and I think a lot of people here will be, AI will help you. If you think, actually, I'm not great at marketing, AI is going to help you loads. And if you think, I haven't really got time for marketing, with AI and the right tools, you can do all your marketing in literally a couple of hours a week tops, which is insane because marketing used to be a job, right?
It used to be a very time-consuming job, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things, isn't it? So this is the thing for businesses, especially if you're a salesperson and you're talking about lead generation and you're leaning on your marketing team and saying, where are the leads? You can become your own marketing team. You can help the marketing team with content creation, with podcasts, with everything, with all the stuff that they would normally take ages to do. So having an AI is like having your own personal intern. But when you really start getting clever with it, and I'm not at this level yet, even though I train people in the basics, I'm not in the advanced stages. AI now can start becoming an agent and work with its own agency. This is what Google and other folk are really excited by, which is the ability to train the AI to become the manager of the AIs,
right?
Which then have an outcome, right? So if you think that's basically a company, this is why Sam Altman's saying the first billion one-person company will be born this year, because one person will have the ability with 30 or 40 AIs to make $1 billion. That is insane. But if you think of it from an industrial revolution point of view, it's not insane, is it? One person with a tractor suddenly could do the work of 200 people, right?
Well, when Facebook bought Instagram, wasn't there 14 people in it or something?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So we've seen the number of people required because of technology has shrunk, but it's going to shrink even more with AI.
Well, and it's not necessarily, by the way, you can use AI for coding as well, so I'm not going to get into that side of it. But yeah, there's a ability now for AI to do the heavy lifting in so many areas that companies will get smaller, which is why I talk about in the book, I talk about organizational AI, organizational intelligence, because we need to start realizing and understanding that large companies will not be hiring people. Yeah. So if you look at people like the big consultancy firms who are all saying the same thing, but consulting people saying AI is going to be massive, you won't need as many people. They're also laying people off. But there's a reason why, because if you take all your data from all the data points you've got, if you're like McKinsey or whatever, and you've got billions of data points, you put them all into the machine and say, okay, what would the average, consultant say? And if consultants use AI, it's something between 14% and 40%. You can become 25% quicker in the tasks that you do, and they become 40% better. Now that's, if you're a business and you've got 1,000 people, now you would need 800. But in a year, you're going to need 400. But for the same output. Or you say we're going to be aggressive in this and we're going to actually take on the whole world with the 800. But what do you think people are going to... I keep going around to companies and say, don't fire people, retrain everybody and because that's what you should do. Retrain, retain and retrain is what we should be doing. We should not be firing. We should be retraining, and that's it. But if you look at what McKinsey and other folk have just done, I think it is McKinsey just did this last week, they are now giving people 9 months of full pay for them to go and job hunt in the market.
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
IBM have been letting people off.
Yeah, absolutely. But not letting people off, they've said, but also just do 9 months off, and all you've got to do is look for a job, and you'll keep this job, looking for a job. Now, think about that. Think about why they're doing that. This is now the time of entrepreneurism, which will be like the likes of which we'll never see. This is the bit where there's going to be such a massive difference in the opportunities of sales and marketing people to make a huge amount of difference to their lives and a huge amount of money. We'll have never seen anything like it.
Dan, just to say, Asif Chowdhury says, brilliant chat, but has to dash. He's learned a lot, so thanks to me, but more importantly, thanks to you,
Thanks,
Dan. The 20 minutes goes very, very quickly. So sorry, but we're going to have to finish it there. Where can people find you?
Come and find me. The course is the AI marketing course.co.uk. Come and find me there. Come and find me on LinkedIn. Just look for Dan and then Sodergren, Sodergren. And then you can find me at dansodergren.com. I also have a couple of agents if you want me to come and do a talk, which I do. I do keynote talks and speeches. Best people to talk to is probably Pomona Partners, who you could speak to hiring me for those things too. And obviously I'm on Twitter still because I'm an old-fashioned person. I think I did it 15 years ago as well, Tim. So that's simply at Dan Sodergren. And before we finish though, Tim, I'd just like to say a huge thanks to you. I've been a massive fan of yours for many, many years with your social selling and stuff. So fair play to you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on and talking. I think we probably met on Twitter or something like that.
I think so. I think we did. I think it was probably about 10 years ago as well. Yeah. But also anyone the people who are listening, but also from the recording, Tim, I'll do a special offer on the book that I wrote, but also on the new course coming out. I will do a 50% discount for any fans of Tim.
And how do they get access to that?
Well, what we'll do is we'll create a special code that you can email to people, and we can link at the bottom of this, and they can then get that. But proving that I'm not an AI, I literally only just thought of that, which proves you're doing it live and I'm real. There you go.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.